Chosen one. There are people who are drawn to your light, not to protect it, but to drain it. Do you know that? There are people who are drawn to your light, not to protect it, but to drain it. You did not arrive here by accident, and this moment is not random. Heaven arranged this encounter with precision because your heart has reached a threshold where discernment must rise to meet destiny. What you are sensing lately is not confusion, it is instruction. What you are feeling is not weakness, it is awareness, awakening. Chosen one. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural shift. Doors that resisted you are preparing to open. Weight that slowed you is about to be lifted. There is an elevation coming that requires your spirit to be lighter, cleaner, and more aligned than ever before. Scripture reminds us in Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3 that the vision awaits an appointed time, and this is that time. Heaven does not rush, but it is never late. Anointed one, your purity has attracted attention both divine and deceptive. God is speaking now because what he is about to release next includes protection, acceleration, and a transfer you could not carry while being quietly drained. Stay with this word. Let it settle. And if your spirit bears witness, subscribe so you don't miss what heaven sends next, and type 777 in the comments as a simple act of agreement. Prepare your heart. What follows is not information, it is activation. Chosen one. What you are experiencing right now is not confusion, and it is not emotional weakness. It is an interruption. Heaven is stepping into your rhythm because something sacred in you is being accessed without honor. There are connections close enough to influence you, familiar enough to feel safe, and subtle enough to appear harmless. That is exactly why this moment matters. This is not a warning driven by fear. This is protection released through precision. God is not asking you to reject people in anger. He is asking you to see clearly. Anointed one, there is a difference between love and access. You can love someone and still recognize that their proximity is costing you peace. You can care deeply and still discern that a connection is misaligned with your assignment. I learned this the hard way. There was a season where I kept explaining away the heaviness I felt around certain people. I told myself I was just tired. I said I was overthinking. But every time I left those conversations, my clarity was foggy, my joy was muted, and my prayer life felt heavy. That was not coincidence. That was instruction. Chosen one. Heaven interrupts when something valuable is being mishandled. You are not being singled out for harm. You are being singled out for preservation. There is a purity in you that makes you generous with access, open with your heart, and patient with people who are still unresolved. But purity without discernment becomes vulnerability. And God is speaking now because your next season requires strength you cannot afford to leak. There is a person in your circle whose words sound normal and whose presence feels familiar, yet something in your spirit tightens when they are near. They may not intend harm. They may even believe they care for you, but their spirit does not honor what God placed inside you. Misalignment does not always look like betrayal. Sometimes it looks like constant need. Sometimes it looks like subtle discouragement. Sometimes it looks like someone who benefits from your light, but never protects it. Chosen one. If you remain connected, you will begin to carry weight that was never assigned to you. Emotional weight. Spiritual weight, responsibility that does not belong to your calling. And God is saying this clearly in this Kairos moment: you are too clean to be handled carelessly. Your heart was not designed to be a dumping ground for unresolved wounds. Your spirit was not built to compensate for someone else's lack of healing. This is how heaven works. Before elevation, there is inspection. Before acceleration, there is separation. Before the scroll opens, the vessel is purified. You are not losing anything right now. You are being lightened. And what feels uncomfortable is simply the tension between who you were and who you are becoming. Chosen one. This word did not arrive early, and it did not arrive late. It arrived exactly on time. There is always one distraction sent toward a pure-hearted soul. Not to destroy you outright, but to delay you quietly. Not to steal your calling, but to dull your urgency. And that distraction often wears the face of familiarity. Pay attention to what your peace has been trying to tell you. Peace is not just a feeling, it is a spiritual signal. When your peace consistently evaporates around a person, your spirit has already recognized something your emotions are still negotiating with. This is not about judgment, this is about alignment. Heaven is activating discernment in you now because your sealed assignment is moving closer to manifestation. Stay with this moment, chosen one. What is being revealed now is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to free you. And as this awareness settles, you are going to begin to see with clarity what you once explained away. Chosen one. Now that your spirit has been awakened to the interruption, let me take you deeper into the pattern. This is where discernment sharpens and the hidden scroll begins to open. The person draining you rarely arrives with warning signs. They appear gentle, even comforting. At first, they feel safe, familiar, like someone heaven itself allowed into your life. And that is why this requires spiritual sight, not emotional reaction. I want you to notice something subtle. They struggle to celebrate your growth. When God lifts you, they grow quiet. When you are in pain, they are attentive. They listen closely to your wounds, but lose interest in your victories. This is not always malicious, but it is revealing. Their spirit is nourished by your struggle, not your elevation. Your kindness becomes leverage. Your empathy becomes access. And slowly, without confrontation, your energy begins to leak. Chosen one. I have walked through this myself. There were people I kept close because I felt responsible for them. I told myself I was being loyal, being loving, being patient. But every time I honored their need over my assignment, my progress slowed. My prayer life dulled. My confidence weakened. And I thought it was spiritual warfare. I thought it was the enemy attacking from the outside. But the truth was simpler and harder to accept. The drain was coming from proximity. Here is a truth that will change how you see relationships forever. The wrong person does not need to attack you to damage you. They only need access. Access to your thoughts. Access to your time. Access to your emotional bandwidth. Access to your sacred listening space where God speaks. That is why Scripture speaks of guarding the heart. Not because the heart is fragile, but because it is powerful territory. Whoever stands near it influences direction. Chosen one, when your peace disappears consistently around a person that is not imagination. That is not overthinking. That is your spirit issuing a warning before your destiny pays the cost. Peace is heaven's alarm system. It activates before damage becomes visible, long before consequences surface. And the more pure your heart is, the louder this signal becomes. This is where the mystery deepens. Heaven is not exposing this misalignment to shame you. It is awakening you. The Holy Spirit often speaks through discomfort before clarity arrives. He allows agitation, heaviness, and spiritual fatigue, not to punish you, but to protect what is coming. God sees conversations you are not present for. He sees intentions that have not yet surfaced. And He knows the strength your next assignment requires. Chosen one. Your next season is heavier in glory, but lighter in burden. You cannot carry divine purpose while constantly refilling someone else's emptiness. You were never meant to be an emotional emergency room. You were never assigned to absorb what others refuse to confront. And heaven is intervening now because your destiny is entering a phase that demands focus, clarity, and clean atmosphere. Let me say this gently but firmly. This warning is not rejection, it is preservation. God is not removing people because you are cold-hearted. He is adjusting access because you are called. Your heart is a sanctuary, not a public space. Your spirit is a garden, not a battlefield. And your mind is a temple, not a storage room for spiritual toxins. When the wrong person stays too close, you begin to notice patterns. Your confidence erodes. Your clarity fogs. Your joy feels delayed. Your progress slows even though you are praying harder. These are not random symptoms. They are signals. And heaven always sends signals before it sends separation. Chosen one. The enemy understands something many people miss. He cannot stop you directly, so he sends distraction disguised as connection. Someone who wears you down emotionally, someone who subtly questions what God spoke over you, someone who treats your sensitivity as weakness, not loudly, not aggressively, quietly, slowly, over time. But hear this clearly. Your heart is too pure for manipulation. Your spirit is too strong for contamination, and your destiny is too large for unnecessary attachments. You were not designed to shrink so others can feel comfortable. You were not called to dim your light to maintain access for those who cannot honor it. Every connection must either sharpen you or release you. Anything else becomes weight, and God is not calling you to harden your heart. He is calling you to guard it. Discernment is not distrust. Boundaries are not rejection. They are alignment. Even Jesus did not give everyone access because he understood timing, intention, and hearts. Chosen one. What you are sensing now is the beginning of separation by wisdom, not emotion. And what feels like loss is about to reveal itself as relief. Stay open, stay still. Let heaven finish what it started. Chosen one. What is happening now may feel quiet on the surface, but spiritually it is loud. Heaven is shifting your environment before it shifts your position. This is the stage where many misunderstand God's work because it looks like subtraction, but it is actually calibration. God is not trying to take something from you. He is preparing you to receive what your current environment cannot sustain. There are people connected to the older version of you. They loved who you were when you were still carrying their weight, still explaining yourself, still shrinking to keep the peace. But as God elevates you internally, misalignment becomes visible externally. What once felt familiar now feels heavy. Not because you became worse, but because you grew. Their spirit irritates your spirit. Their words pierce your confidence. Their presence disrupts your peace. And this is not weakness. This is discernment awakening. Chosen one. Growth creates friction when others refuse to grow with you. As your awareness sharpens, your tolerance for spiritual interference weakens. What you once explained away now demands attention. And heaven is allowing you to feel this discomfort so you stop negotiating with what is draining you. This is not about blaming others. It is about honoring the call on your life. I remember a season where letting go felt cruel, even though staying was costing me everything. I prayed for peace, and God answered by showing me what was stealing it. That answer did not come with drama. It came with clarity. Conversations became shallow, connection felt forced, and the inner tension grew until I realized something important. God was not asking me to confront, He was asking me to release. Chosen one separation does not always require confrontation. Sometimes obedience looks like quiet withdrawal. God often removes weight without noise because your strength is not proven by how loudly you speak, but by how confidently you obey. This is why silence in this season is wisdom, not weakness. You do not owe everyone an explanation for your growth. Scripture shows us this pattern through Abraham and Lot. Lot was not evil. He was misaligned. The issue was not sin, it was direction. Abraham was carrying a promise that required space, clarity, and focus. The same is happening to you. God is not calling you to judge, resent, or condemn. He is calling you to discern capacity. Some relationships expire not because they were bad, but because they were seasonal. God is shifting the atmosphere around your life. He is cleansing your circle. He is clearing your path. And if you try to hold on to what He is releasing, the process will feel painful. But if you trust Him, peace will return quickly. Chosen one, heaven never removes without replacing. As certain connections loosen, new alignments begin to form. You may not see them yet, but they are being prepared. God is aligning you with people who will honor your purity, not exploit it. People who celebrate your growth instead of competing with it. People who strengthen your spirit instead of draining it. This is not isolation. This is elevation. God is not breaking relationships to punish anyone. He is guarding your calling. Separation is not rejection. It is redirection. Heaven always removes what cannot survive where you are going. Your heart is a prophetic instrument, and your spirit is entering a new dimension. Certain people cannot go with you, not because they are bad, but because they are not built for what is ahead. Chosen one. This does not make you unloving, it makes you obedient. God is teaching you that access is sacred, alignment is essential, and peace is non-negotiable. What He separates you from now is creating space for what He will entrust to you next. And what He is about to entrust to you carries weight, influence, and responsibility. Let this truth settle deeply. God does not protect what is worthless. He protects what is precious. Your purity is precious. Your empathy is precious. Your discernment is precious. These qualities are not weaknesses in the kingdom. They are treasures. In a world that rewards hardness and manipulation, your clean heart stands out as something sacred. Purity is not naivety. It is strength under control. It is the ability to remain soft in a hard world without being broken by it. Heaven values purity because purity allows God to trust you with influence. When your heart remains clean, God can move freely through your life without obstruction. Chosen one this season is not about becoming colder. It is about becoming clearer. You are not closing your heart. You are consecrating it. And as this alignment deepens, you will notice something shift inside you. Your vision will sharpen, your spirit will lighten, and the heaviness you once carried will lift without effort. What feels like loss now is actually preparation. What feels like distance is divine ordering. Stay with the process. Heaven is not finished. Chosen one, as this separation unfolds, something subtle but powerful is taking place within you. Heaven is not only rearranging your external connections, it is recalibrating your inner posture. This is the phase where many become restless because the old patterns no longer fit, yet the new structure has not fully revealed itself. But do not rush this moment. Kairos timing is never hurried. It is precise, deliberate, and deeply intentional. What you may not realize yet is that the discomfort you feel is evidence of growth. Your spirit is expanding beyond environments that once felt normal. Conversations that used to energize you now feel empty. Spaces that once felt safe now feel restrictive. This is not because you have become difficult or distant. It is because your spirit is being upgraded to carry something heavier in glory, yet cleaner in atmosphere. Chosen one. When God prepares a scroll to be unsealed, He first prepares the vessel. and preparation often looks like stillness, reduction, and silence. You may notice that your desire for noise is fading. You are less interested in explaining yourself, less drawn to validation, more sensitive to tone, intention, and energy. This is not withdrawal, this is consecration. I remember a season where God reduced my circle so quietly that I almost missed it. No arguments, no dramatic exits, just a gentle fading. At first I resisted it. I thought something was wrong. But in that quiet space, my discernment sharpened. I began to hear God more clearly, not because He was speaking louder, but because there was less interference. That is what is happening to you now. Chosen one, your destiny requires a clean listening environment. You cannot decode divine instructions while constantly translating other people's emotions. You cannot carry heaven's assignments while managing unnecessary weight. God is teaching you a sacred rhythm obedience before explanation alignment, before attachment clarity, before connection. This is also the season where your standards rise naturally, not out of pride, but out of protection. You no longer tolerate subtle disrespect. You no longer excuse consistent heaviness. You no longer ignore what your spirit flags repeatedly. This is not hardness. This is maturity. Heaven is entrusting you with discernment because influence is approaching. There is a reason God intervenes early with pure hearts. When the heart is clean, heaven acts swiftly. Scripture speaks of those who ascend the hill of the Lord as those with clean hands and a pure heart. This principle is alive now. Elevation follows purity. Access follows integrity. Protection follows innocence. You are not being elevated because you are flawless. You are being elevated because your posture is right. Chosen one, your purity is why doors open that others struggle to unlock. Your purity is why storms did not destroy you when they should have. Your purity is why God fought battles you never saw. And your purity is why He is warning you now. Heaven refuses to let what is sacred be contaminated unnecessarily. As this refinement continues, hope will begin to rise in unexpected ways. You may feel lighter without knowing why, more focused, more grounded. You are not losing people. You are gaining clarity. You are not being left behind. You are being positioned ahead. What God is doing now is not subtraction. It is preparation. Soon you will notice new alignments forming effortlessly. People who match your spirit, conversations that nourish instead of drain, opportunities that honor your character. God is lifting you beyond environments that wounded you, not to isolate you, but to elevate you. This is not abandonment. This is refinement. Heaven's instruction in this season is simple but profound. Step back quietly. Detach peacefully. Protect your heart intentionally. Move forward boldly. This is not a time for emotional reactions or explanations. Obedience does not always require confrontation. Sometimes it requires quiet withdrawal. Strength in this season is measured by how confidently you obey, not how loudly you speak. Chosen one. Silence now is wisdom, not weakness. God is taking you somewhere, and this time you are going without excess weight. The place ahead requires lightness of spirit, clarity of heart, and freedom from emotional burdens that slow your pace. What God is removing is not punishment, it is preparation. You are entering a season of sharper discernment, deeper peace, stronger identity, and uncommon favor. These are not random blessings. They are the natural result of obedience and purity working together. As your circle becomes cleaner, your vision becomes clearer. As your heart becomes lighter, your discernment becomes sharper. Heaven always responds to alignment with acceleration. Chosen one. This is not the season to lower your standards. This is not the season to tolerate disrespect. This is the season where God purifies your environment so He can amplify your destiny. Elevation demands separation. Influence demands discernment. Expansion demands refinement. Protect what God is building in you. Guard it, value it, honor it. Because what is coming next requires a clean atmosphere, a stable spirit, and a heart untouched by the wrong influences. Stay still. Stay aligned. Heaven is very close. Chosen one. Now we arrive at the quiet center of this unfolding. This is the place where many stop short, not because they are unworthy, but because surrender feels unfamiliar. Up to this point, heaven has been separating, refining, and recalibrating you. But now something deeper is required. Not action, not striving, but trust. This is where the hidden scroll responds to stillness. There is a moment in every divine journey where God asks for your agreement, not with words, but with posture. Your posture right now matters more than your effort. Heaven is watching how you carry what has been revealed. Do you rush to explain it, or do you hold it with reverence? Do you cling to what feels familiar, or do you allow God to lead you into what feels unknown but aligned? Chosen one, sealed assignments do not open in noise, they open in alignment. And alignment always costs something. Often it costs the illusion of control. You may feel a gentle pull away from people, habits, even dreams that once defined you. This is not loss. This is recalibration. God is not stripping you. He is fine-tuning you for precision. I remember a time when God asked me to release something I had prayed for. It made no sense. I questioned His timing, but what I did not see was that what I was holding was limiting the scale of what He wanted to release. Only later did I understand that surrender was not the end of the blessing. It was the doorway to a greater one. That is the crossroads you are standing at now. Chosen one, heaven is activating a new level of discernment in you. You will begin to sense when to speak and when to remain silent, when to move and when to wait, when to open and when to close. This is not hesitation. This is spiritual intelligence maturing. God trusts you with this because your heart has proven itself faithful in hidden seasons. The temptation in this moment is to look for external confirmation, to seek reassurance from people, to ask for permission to obey what you already know. But your clarity does not require consensus. It requires courage. And courage in this season looks like quiet obedience. You are not meant to convince anyone of your calling. God is the one who qualifies and confirms. Chosen one, what feels like emptiness is actually space being created. Space for new understanding, space for new alliances, space for divine instruction to land without distortion. You are being repositioned internally before you are repositioned externally. This is how heaven works. The inner shift always precedes the visible one. As you surrender, you may notice something unexpected. Your anxiety lessens, your need to control outcomes fades, your trust deepens. This is because surrender aligns you with divine timing. Kairos moments do not respond to pressure, they respond to readiness. And readiness is marked by peace. There is a quiet assurance being released over you now. You do not have to chase what God has already assigned. You do not have to protect yourself from what heaven is guarding. Scripture speaks of those who wait on the Lord, renewing their strength. Waiting is not passive. It is active trust, and trust is what unlocks the sealed things. Chosen one, your hidden obedience has not gone unnoticed. Heaven records what people overlook. Every time you chose purity over popularity, alignment over attachment, obedience over comfort, something was being written into your scroll. This is not a random season. This is a response. As you remain surrendered, you will begin to sense acceleration approaching, not frantic movement, but divine momentum. Things will align without force, conversations will open without effort, opportunities will appear without striving. This is how God confirms alignment. What once required labor will begin to flow. Do not be surprised if people who once drained you no longer have access to you, not because you rejected them, but because your frequency has changed. You did not close the door in anger. God simply moved you higher, and not everyone can breathe at the same altitude. Chosen ones, stay grounded, stay humble, stay attentive. The scroll is not fully open yet, but the seal has been loosened. What God is about to entrust to you will require the very posture you are learning now. Stillness, discernment, surrender. Let heaven finish its work. You are not behind. You are right on time. Chosen one, as surrender settles into your spirit, a new awareness begins to surface. This is where many misunderstand divine timing, because what God is doing now does not announce itself with noise. It unfolds through subtle confirmations, gentle shifts, and quiet authority rising inside you. You may not feel dramatic emotion, but you will feel grounded, anchored, certain. That certainty is not confidence in yourself. It is alignment with heaven. This is the stage where your discernment matures from reaction into recognition. You no longer need to analyze every feeling or replay every interaction. You simply know. You sense when something is aligned and when it is not. You sense when a door is open and when it is closing. This knowing does not come from logic. It comes from intimacy with God, developed in hidden places. Chosen one. Your spirit has been trained through silence, through endurance, through seasons where nothing seemed to move, yet everything was being prepared. Those quiet years were not wasted. They were formative. Heaven was strengthening your inner structure so that when movement comes, you will not be shaken by it. I remember a season when everything around me slowed down. Opportunities faded. Invitations stopped. At first I panicked. I thought I had missed something. But later I understood that God was anchoring me. He was teaching me how to remain steady without external affirmation. That season built something unshakable, and that same anchoring is happening inside you now. Chosen one. The reason God guards your heart so fiercely is because of what will flow through it next. Influence without integrity collapses. Access without alignment corrupts. But your heart has remained clean under pressure. That is rare, and heaven protects what is rare. You may notice now that you are less reactive to provocation. Things that once triggered you no longer hold power. This is not numbness, this is authority. When your spirit is aligned, external noise loses its grip. The enemy can no longer manipulate you through emotion because your identity is no longer up for negotiation. This is also where your sense of timing sharpens. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop chasing validation. You move when prompted and rest when instructed. And because of this, you arrive at the right place at the right moment without striving. This is Kairos living. Not measured by clocks, but by alignment. Chosen. One heaven is teaching you restraint. Not because you lack ability, but because restraint multiplies impact. A disciplined spirit carries more authority than a restless one. God trusts you now with restraint because your obedience has proven steady. You may feel an increased sensitivity to atmosphere. Rooms feel different. Conversations carry weight. Some environments feel heavy while others feel expansive. This is discernment functioning at a higher level. Do not ignore it. Your spirit is reading what your eyes cannot see. This is also the season where false urgency loses its grip on you. You are no longer pressured by comparison or timelines imposed by others. You understand that what is meant for you cannot miss you. That realization brings peace, and peace is evidence of alignment. Chosen one, heaven does not rush the unveiling of a scroll. It ensures the carrier is ready, and readiness is not about knowledge. It is about posture, humility, patience, obedience. You are learning how to carry weight without strain, authority without pride, influence without compromise. As this continues, you may experience moments of sudden clarity, insights that arrive without effort, understanding that seems to drop into your spirit fully formed. These are not random thoughts, they are downloads. Heaven is entrusting you with understanding because you are prepared to steward it without ego. Do not be surprised if people begin to respond differently to you. Some will sense your authority without knowing why. Others may feel uncomfortable around you. This is not something you need to manage. Your alignment will naturally sort access. Chosen one, you are not becoming distant, you are becoming defined. Clear boundaries form naturally when identity stabilizes. You no longer need to explain what you will not tolerate. Your presence communicates it. This is the fruit of refinement. This is the evidence of preparation. And this is why heaven intervened early. Because what is coming next requires a carrier who is not easily moved, easily drained, or easily distracted. Remain attentive. Remain humble, remain surrendered. Acceleration does not always feel fast. Sometimes it feels calm. But when heaven moves, it moves completely. You are not waiting for permission. You are being entrusted, and the next unfolding will confirm everything your spirit already knows. Chosen one. Now you are entering the phase where heaven begins to speak less through correction and more through confirmation. This is subtle, and many miss it because they are still looking for signs that feel dramatic. But confirmation in this season arrives as peace that holds steady even when circumstances are uncertain. It arrives as clarity that does not need to be defended. It arrives as an inner knowing that no longer asks, "Is this right?" but quietly states, "This is aligned." What you are experiencing now is the stabilization of identity. When identity stabilizes, access changes automatically. You no longer chase connection. Connection finds you. You no longer explain boundaries. They enforce themselves. This is the fruit of the purification you have walked through. God has been separating noise from signal so you can hear Him clearly. Chosen one, there is a sacred exchange taking place within you. Old emotional patterns are being replaced with spiritual authority. Where you once reacted, you now respond. Where you once absorbed, you now observe. This is not detachment from life. It is mastery within it. Heaven is teaching you how to move through environments without leaking energy. I remember the first time I realized something had truly shifted. I walked into a familiar situation that used to drain me. The people were the same, the words were the same, but I was different. The heaviness did not attach, the tension did not linger. I left whole. That was when I understood God had not changed the environment. He had changed my capacity. That same change is happening in you now. Chosen one, this is why God intervened before damage occurred. Because once authority settles, the enemy loses leverage. You are no longer easily provoked, easily persuaded, or easily pulled into unnecessary emotional labor. Your spirit now knows what belongs to it and what does not. And discernment is no longer something you practice, it is something you carry. You may notice now that you are more selective with your words, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You understand that not everyone has the capacity to hear what you carry. This restraint is not shrinking, it is stewardship. Heaven entrusts more to those who know when to be silent. This is also the stage where heaven begins to reintroduce people into your life, but not the same way as before. New connections come with clarity. They do not drain you. They sharpen you. They do not compete with you. They complement you. These are not random encounters. These are alignments. Chosen one, do not rush to label this season. It is not isolation. It is incubation. Something is forming beneath the surface. A deeper confidence, a steadier voice, a clearer sense of direction. And this formation cannot be hurried without damage. You are learning how to carry peace in motion, not just peace in stillness. This is important because what is coming next involves visibility, and visibility without peace creates instability. God is preparing you to be seen without being shaken. This is where many are disqualified not by sin but by impatience. They move before alignment completes. They speak before authority settles. But you are learning to wait without stagnation, to move without striving, to trust without clinging. Chosen one. Heaven's confirmations often come quietly. A door opens at the exact moment you stopped pushing. A conversation brings clarity you did not ask for. A decision feels effortless where it once felt heavy. These are signs that alignment has taken root. Do not underestimate the power of this stage. What you are becoming now will determine how you handle what is released later. Influence magnifies what already exists. God is ensuring that what exists in you is stable, pure, and anchored. Remain attentive to your inner peace. It is your compass. When peace remains, proceed. When peace withdraws, pause. This is not hesitation. This is obedience refined. Chosen one. The draining connections of the past no longer recognize you because you no longer resonate at the same frequency. This is not arrogance. It is alignment. You did not change to be better than anyone. You changed to be faithful. As this confirmation settles, trust that heaven is ahead of you. You are not guessing. You are aligning. And alignment always precedes manifestation. Stay present. Stay grounded. The next unveiling will come when it can be carried without cost to your spirit. Chosen one, as alignment stabilizes within you, heaven begins to entrust you with something deeper than confirmation. It entrusts you with stewardship. This is where many misunderstand the shift, because stewardship does not feel like excitement. It feels like responsibility settling into your bones. You are not being rushed forward. You are being positioned inwardly so that when movement comes, it does not fracture you. You may notice now that your sensitivity has changed. You still feel deeply, but you are no longer flooded by emotion. You can sense pain without absorbing it. You can hear struggle without carrying it. This is not distance. This is maturity. God has strengthened the boundaries of your spirit so that compassion no longer costs you your peace. Chosen one. There is a reason your heart was protected early. Heaven knew that what is coming next would require you to remain open without being porous. Influence without boundaries is depletion. Love without discernment becomes leakage. And you were never meant to leak what God sealed. This is also the stage where your internal language shifts. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What is this preparing me for?" That question alone signals growth. It means your identity is no longer rooted in circumstance, but in calling. You are no longer interpreting life through wounds, but through purpose. I remember when this shift happened for me. I realized that the same situations that once felt like attacks now felt like filters. They revealed what could stay and what could not. And I stopped taking everything personally. I understood that not everything was meant to be processed emotionally. Some things were meant to be discerned spiritually and released quietly. Chosen one. This is where discernment becomes effortless. You do not need long explanations to know when something is misaligned. Your spirit recognizes truth before your mind forms language for it. This is not intuition alone. This is familiarity with God's voice developed through obedience. You are also learning something sacred in this season. Not everything that wants access deserves response. Silence is becoming a tool, not a defense. You are discovering that withholding reaction preserves power. And power, when stewarded correctly, attracts alignment without force. Heaven is also recalibrating your sense of value. You no longer measure worth by how needed you are or how much you give. You measure it by how aligned you remain. This is crucial. Many with pure hearts confuse usefulness with purpose. But purpose does not require constant depletion. Purpose requires sustainability. Chosen one. What is being activated now is endurance. Not the endurance of survival, but the endurance of calling. The kind that allows you to remain steady through visibility, responsibility, and increase. God is not just preparing you to receive, He is preparing you to carry. You may sense a quiet confidence emerging, not loud, not performative, but settled. You trust yourself more because you trust God more. Decisions feel clearer, distractions lose appeal, and your tolerance for spiritual noise continues to decrease. This is not because you are becoming rigid, it is because you are becoming refined. This season is teaching you to honor your internal rhythms, to rest without guilt, to move without haste, to speak without urgency. Heaven is aligning your pace with your purpose, and when pace aligns, strain disappears. Chosen one. There will be moments where you are tempted to re-engage old patterns, old connections, old explanations, not because they fit, but because they are familiar. When that temptation comes, remember this familiarity is not confirmation. Peace is. You are not being called to revisit what God already resolved. You are being invited to trust the clarity you have been given. The scroll does not reopen what has already been sealed and settled. It moves forward. This is also where gratitude deepens. Not loud gratitude for visible blessings, but quiet gratitude for protection you did not recognize at the time. You begin to see how many things God blocked without explanation, how many drains He removed without confrontation, how many delays were actually shields. Chosen one. This awareness will soften you, not harden you. It will make you gentler with yourself, more patient with process, less anxious about outcomes, because you now understand that heaven has been involved long before you were aware of it. Remain attentive in this season. Do not rush the unfolding. What is being entrusted to you is not just opportunity, it is responsibility, and responsibility handled with humility becomes authority. You are not waiting, you are being equipped. And what you are becoming now will determine how much you can carry later without losing yourself. Chosen one. Now the shift becomes undeniable, not because everything around you has changed, but because you have. This is the stage where heaven allows you to feel the contrast between who you were and who you are becoming. Old environments feel smaller, old conversations feel repetitive, old cycles feel complete, not painful complete, and that completion is holy. You are beginning to recognize that some things ended not because they failed, but because they succeeded in doing exactly what they were meant to do. They carried you until you were strong enough to walk without them. And now God is not reopening those doors. He is teaching you how to move forward without looking back for confirmation. Chosen one. There is a quiet authority forming in you now. It is not the authority that demands attention. It is the authority that does not need it. You no longer feel compelled to prove your growth, explain your decisions, or justify your boundaries. This is a sign that your identity has anchored. When identity anchors, approval loses its power. You may notice that people respond to you differently. Some lean in with respect. Others pull away without explanation. This is not something you need to analyze. It is alignment sorting itself out. When frequency shifts, resonance follows. Those who can meet you where you are will remain. Those who cannot will drift, not as punishment, but as process. I want you to understand something important here. Not everyone who leaves was sent to stay. Some were sent to teach you discernment. Some were sent to reveal your strength. Some were sent to activate compassion. And when their assignment was complete, heaven quietly released them. This does not invalidate the connection. It completes it. Chosen one, you are learning how to bless seasons without clinging to them. That is maturity. You are learning how to honor people without carrying them. That is wisdom. And heaven trusts you with this because you no longer confuse attachment with love. This is also the stage where your inner dialogue changes. You stop replaying conversations. You stop questioning decisions that brought you peace. You stop wondering if you were too much or not enough. You realize that alignment always feels like relief, even when it costs you something familiar. You are beginning to understand that peace is not passive. It is active protection. It guards your clarity. It preserves your strength. It keeps your spirit light enough to move when God says move. And anything that consistently disrupts your peace is no longer allowed to negotiate its place in your life. Chosen one. This clarity did not come overnight. It came through obedience in moments no one saw, through choosing silence instead of reaction, through choosing alignment instead of attachment, through choosing trust instead of control. Each one of those choices wrote something permanent into your scroll. Now heaven is responding to what you wrote. You may feel moments of stillness where nothing seems to be happening. Do not mistake that for stagnation. This is integration. Your spirit is catching up with the elevation God has already prepared. This pause is intentional. It allows you to carry what is coming without fracture. This is also where gratitude deepens, not for what you gained, but for what you were spared from. You begin to see how certain paths would have cost you your peace, how certain connections would have drained your calling, how certain opportunities would have demanded compromise, and you realize that what felt like delay was divine mercy. Chosen one, heaven does not always show you what it blocked. Sometimes it simply gives you peace and trusts you to move forward without needing the full explanation. That trust is a sign of intimacy. God is not managing you. He is partnering with you. As this settles, you may feel a renewed sense of direction, not detailed plans, but steady orientation. You know where you are facing, even if you do not see the full road yet. That is enough. Faith does not require visibility. It requires alignment. You are no longer waiting to be rescued from confusion. You have been trained to walk in clarity. You are no longer asking for protection from drains. You recognize them before they attach. This is growth made visible through restraint. Chosen one. What is forming now is sustainability. The ability to carry calling without burning out, to love without leaking, to give without emptying yourself. God is building something in you that lasts, not just something that looks impressive for a season. Remain present, remain humble, remain attentive. The final unveiling will not arrive with pressure. It will arrive with peace that confirms you are ready. Chosen one. This is where the journey begins to turn outward again, but not back to who you were. Forward with clarity. Forward with authority that no longer leaks. You may sense it now, the quiet confidence that does not announce itself, the steadiness that does not rush, the peace that does not need permission. This is not the end of refinement. This is the beginning of release. What God has been doing in you was never meant to stay hidden forever. Hidden seasons are not permanent residences. They are preparation chambers. And you have stayed longer than most without complaint. You endured silence without bitterness. You obeyed without applause. You released without revenge. That is why heaven can now trust you with movement. Chosen one, notice how different your responses have become. You no longer react from wounds. You respond from wisdom. Situations that once pulled you into emotional labor now pass without attachment. This is not because you stopped caring. It is because you learned where your responsibility ends. Love no longer requires self-sacrifice to the point of depletion. Love now flows from overflow, not obligation. This is where many misunderstand authority. Authority is not loud. It is calm. It does not argue. It does not chase. It does not convince. It stands and alignment gathers around it naturally. You are beginning to walk in that kind of authority now. Not because you demanded it, but because you carried yourself with integrity when no one was watching. There is a release happening in your spirit, the release of striving. You are no longer trying to prove that you are worthy of what God promised, and knowing changes how you move. You no longer over-explain. You no longer overextend. You no longer overstay in places that do not honor your presence. This is not pride. This is discernment embodied. Chosen one. The scroll does not open all at once. It reveals itself in layers, each one entrusted when the previous has been stewarded well. You have stewarded separation. You have stewarded silence. You have stewarded surrender. Now comes stewardship of influence. Do not misunderstand this. Influence does not mean visibility for its own sake. It means responsibility for what your presence releases in a room. You will notice that when you speak now, words carry weight. When you remain silent, it is felt. When you enter spaces, atmospheres shift subtly. This is not imagination. This is the result of alignment sustained over time. You may find that people begin to seek your counsel, not because you have all the answers, but because you carry peace. Peace is magnetic in a chaotic world, and heaven often uses peace as its loudest testimony. You are not being positioned as a savior. You are being positioned as a witness to what alignment looks like. Chosen one. This next phase will test something different, not your endurance, but your discernment. Not your faith, but your boundaries. Opportunities will arise that look good, but feel heavy. Connections will appear that sound aligned, but drain your spirit. Remember what you have learned. Peace is your compass. Alignment is your filter. You do not need to accept everything that arrives. I want you to hear this clearly. You are not obligated to repeat old lessons to prove you learned them. God does not require you to re-enter draining cycles for confirmation. What you discerned once is settled. Trust yourself. Trust the spirit within you. As this movement begins, stay rooted. Do not let momentum pull you out of posture. Acceleration without grounding leads to fracture, but you have been trained well. You know how to move without haste. You know how to speak without excess. You know how to give without leaking. Chosen one. What is being released through you next will bless others, but it will not cost you your peace. That is the difference. God is not elevating you into exhaustion. He is elevating you into sustainability, into rhythm, into a flow that honors both purpose and presence. Do not be surprised if joy begins to return in simple ways. laughter without heaviness, rest without guilt, productivity without pressure. These are signs that alignment has taken root deeply. You are no longer fighting to become who you are meant to be. You are allowing it. Stay attentive, stay humble, stay aligned. The journey is not ending, it is expanding. And this time you are moving forward without unnecessary weight, without divided focus, without drained spirit. Chosen one, heaven did not interrupt you to slow you down. It interrupted you to prepare you. And now, with clarity steady and heart protected, you are ready to move into what was written without losing yourself along the way. Chosen one. As this expansion continues, something profound settles into place. You begin to realize that what God has been forming in you is not just for movement, but for stability within movement. Many can rise quickly. Few can remain grounded when responsibility increases. This is why your journey unfolded the way it did. Heaven was not only preparing your future, it was fortifying your foundation. You may notice now that your inner world feels quieter, even as your outer world begins to stir. This quiet is not emptiness, it is order. Your thoughts no longer race ahead of God's timing. Your emotions no longer dictate your decisions. You feel present where you are even while sensing that more is ahead. This is the mark of maturity. You are no longer living in anticipation alone. You are living in alignment. Chosen one. The reason draining connections were addressed early is because what you are stepping into requires discernment at scale. The greater the influence, the more subtle the distractions. The more visible the calling, the more refined the interference. God removed the obvious drains first, so you would recognize the subtle ones later. You are being trained to sense misalignment before it gains proximity. This is also where self-trust deepens. Not confidence rooted in ego, but trust rooted in obedience. You have seen what happens when you honor peace. You have experienced the relief that follows alignment. You have watched God confirm decisions that cost you comfort but preserved your spirit. Those experiences have rewritten how you move. You no longer hesitate at clarity. You respond. I want to speak to something personal here because this stage can feel lonely if misunderstood. There were moments in my own journey where clarity came before companionship, where God settled things in my spirit long before others could see the shift. That gap felt isolating at times, but it was necessary. God often confirms you internally before He surrounds you externally. That way you are not swayed by opinion when confirmation arrives. Chosen one. You are entering a phase where your discernment will protect not only you, but those connected to you. Your obedience is no longer personal alone, it carries impact. That is why heaven is careful with your timing. When God moves you, others will follow not because you commanded them, but because your alignment creates permission. You may sense a new seriousness about stewardship forming in you, not heaviness, but reverence. You handle conversations differently. You guard your time more intentionally. You choose rest with wisdom instead of guilt. These are not small adjustments. They are signs that you are learning how to carry weight without strain. This is also where temptation subtly shifts. It no longer looks like obvious compromise. It looks like overextension, saying yes when peace says no. Staying longer than alignment allows, giving more than you are asked to give. Remember, this overgiving can become disobedience when it contradicts clarity. You are not here to save everyone. You are here to steward what God entrusted to you. Chosen one. Your sensitivity is now an asset, not a liability. You no longer drown in it. You use it. You discern atmospheres. You read between words. You sense when something is forming before it fully manifests. This sensitivity was always meant to serve you, not overwhelm you. It just needed boundaries to become strength. As this awareness deepens, you may notice a growing gratitude for the hidden years, the seasons where nothing seemed to happen, the prayers that felt unanswered, the doors that stayed closed. You see now that those moments preserved you. They taught you restraint. They taught you patience. They taught you how to hear God without external reinforcement. Chosen one, heaven often prepares leaders in obscurity because obscurity reveals motives. It shows whether obedience is driven by calling or by recognition. You stayed when others left. You waited when others rushed. You listened when others reacted. That posture has shaped who you are becoming now. This is also where joy returns without effort. Not excitement driven by anticipation, but joy rooted in peace. You begin to enjoy where you are without anxiety about what comes next. That contentment is not complacency. It is trust embodied. And trust is the atmosphere where God moves most freely. Remain watchful in this season. Not anxious, watchful. The more you are entrusted with, the more intentional your stewardship must be. But do not let that intimidate you. You have been prepared thoroughly. Nothing ahead requires something you have not already been trained to carry. Chosen one. What is unfolding now is sustainable influence. Influence that does not exhaust. Impact that does not drain. Movement that does not fracture your inner world. This is the kind of legacy heaven builds slowly, carefully, and intentionally. Stay aligned. Stay grounded. The final confirmations are approaching, not with noise, but with peace that settles deeply and stays. Chosen one. This is the moment where everything quietly settles into place, not with spectacle, not with noise, but with a deep, unshakable knowing that what has been unfolding was never accidental. Heaven has been intentional with you from the beginning. Every interruption, every separation, every delay, every quiet instruction was part of a precise orchestration designed to protect what God placed inside you. You are now standing in a posture that many never reach, not because they are uncalled, but because they resist refinement. You allowed the pruning. You honored the pauses. You listened when God spoke softly instead of waiting for him to shout. And because of that, your spirit is steady in a way that cannot be manufactured. Chosen one. The greatest evidence of growth is not how much you can carry, but how little you are willing to leak. You no longer chase affirmation. You no longer negotiate with misalignment. You no longer confuse urgency with obedience. What once pulled at you emotionally now passes without attachment. That is not detachment from life. That is mastery of self under God's authority. This is where the journey circles back to its origin, but at a higher level. You began this path because heaven interrupted you to protect your heart. And now your heart is protected not just by distance, but by wisdom. You have learned how to discern without becoming suspicious, how to guard without becoming closed, how to love without overextending. These are marks of someone trusted with influence, chosen. One, understand this clearly. God did not remove draining connections to isolate you. He did it so that when the right connections arrive, you will recognize them instantly. You will not have to convince yourself. You will not have to compromise your peace. Alignment will feel natural, effortless, safe. You are also entering a phase where obedience feels lighter, not because the calling is smaller, but because resistance has ended. You are no longer fighting what God is doing. You are cooperating with it. And cooperation accelerates fulfillment. Heaven moves swiftly when the vessel is willing. There may still be moments where the past tries to speak. Old patterns, old voices, old doubts. When they do remember this, clarity does not need to be defended. Peace does not need to be explained. What God has settled in you is not up for debate. You do not owe your future to your past. Chosen one, your discernment has matured into discernment with compassion. You no longer need people to fail for you to feel justified in walking away. You can release without resentment. You can bless without proximity. You can move forward without dragging old weight behind you. This is freedom at a deep level. As you move into what comes next, keep this rhythm sacred. Stay attentive to peace. Stay anchored in humility. Stay responsive to quiet instruction. The louder seasons will come, but they will not overpower you because your foundation is strong. You may notice that heaven no longer explains every step. That is intentional. God explains less when trust is established. Just as a parent gives fewer instructions to a child who has proven faithful, God now leads you with fewer words and more alignment. You sense His direction before you need it verbalized. Chosen one, this is the reward of obedience that no one applauded, of surrender that felt costly at the time, of silence that protected your spirit, of separation that preserved your calling. None of it was wasted. None of it was overlooked. Now what remains is simple. Walk forward without fear. Carry your peace like a crown. Protect your heart like a sanctuary. And trust that what God has written for you will unfold without force, without striving, and without compromise. Heaven did not bring you this far to leave you uncertain. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not lacking. You are aligned. And when alignment is complete, manifestation follows naturally. Chosen one, stay steady. What was draining you is behind you. What is ahead of you is prepared. And what God is doing now will not cost you your spirit. It will confirm it. Chosen one, as this message comes to a close, let your spirit rest in what heaven has confirmed. This is not the end of a word. It is the opening of a sealed prophecy. Your hidden scroll is being revealed, and you are standing in your exact Kairos moment, the appointed time written on heaven's clock for your life. Stay pure, stay discerning, stay aligned. What God is releasing now will unfold with clarity, peace, and divine acceleration. Anointed one, walk forward with gratitude, knowing heaven has gone before you. If this word resonated with your spirit, remain connected, subscribe, share, and quietly mark this moment by commenting below. Not as obligation, but as agreement. May the Lord bless you, keep you, and establish every step ahead. Amen.